Welcome back. Very good morning to one and all. Hope you are all fine and doing well. And here, very important thing it is, whatever the concept that we are dealing regarding vectors or vector algebra is a little more important in the concepts of physics, and at the same time, there is a little more attention required compared to the earlier lesson, just like fluid statics. You need to concentrate a little more on this topic to get a little grip on the topic. So like basic properties like resolution, like addition, subtraction. Now we are dealing with multiplication. We dealt one class with the dot product. In the other class we have started with the cross product of vectors, which we are going to close the concept of cross product today. But to get a little more perfection, you need to spend some little extra time on this particular concept. So that next class we go for a different topic in vectors. So here earlier class what we have dealt, yes, if A bar and B bar are the two different vectors at an angle theta, then their cross product is defined as AB sin theta into n cap, where n cap is the unit vector perpendicular to the plane that contains A bar and B bar. N bar should be the unit vector perpendicular to the plane containing A bar and B bar, so that the direction of A bar cross B bar will be in the direction of n cap. But how is the direction of A bar cross B bar? Why n cap should be perpendicular to the plane of A bar and B bar? For that, right hand rule concept. You need to curl your fingers of right hand from A bar to B bar. Then the thumb indicates the direction of A bar cross B bar. Suppose for example, here the A bar and B bar are in the plane of the board, then A bar cross B bar will be perpendicular to this, in this way. For example, A bar and B bar are in the plane of the floor, your floor. On your floor there is A bar and B bar. You are calculating A bar cross B bar direction, you are trying to identify, then it is perpendicular to the plane of A bar and B bar. Means earlier when they are in the plane of the board, here is the direction of A bar cross B bar. But when they are in the plane of the floor, then A bar cross B bar will be in this way. For example, they are in the plane of this wall, then A bar cross B bar will be in this way. Right hand rule. It means what can you understand here? When the plane of A bar and B bar we are changing, automatically the direction of A bar cross B bar is going to change. This is what you need to identify. Shall I repeat? A bar and B bar are in the plane of the board at an angle theta, in this way, at an angle theta. Then A bar cross B bar will be perpendicular to the plane of the board. If A bar B bar are on the floor, then A bar cross B bar vertically up, perpendicular to the floor. If A bar and B bar are in the plane of the wall, then A bar cross B bar will be perpendicular to the wall. It means when the plane of A bar and B bar we are changing, as per right hand rule, the direction of A bar cross B bar is going to change. Such vectors whose direction changes when the plane changes, we call them as pseudo vectors. Here A bar and B bar are not pseudo vectors. A bar cross B bar is a pseudo vector, because when A bar and B bar are in the plane of the board, A bar cross B bar will be perpendicular to the board. When A bar and B bar are in the plane of the floor, A bar cross B bar will be perpendicular to the floor. When the plane of A bar and B bar changing, the direction of A bar cross B bar is going to change. So, I conclude. The vectors whose direction changes, just like A bar cross B bar. I am not talking about A bar, I am not talking about B bar. I am talking about A bar cross B bar direction. The vectors whose direction changes when the plane changes, then they are called pseudo vectors. Of course, whose direction will be given by right hand, just perpendicular to the plane. That's why they are also known as axial vectors. You may get one doubt. Sir, can you tell me examples for pseudo vectors or axial vectors? See, work done is the dot product of force and displacement. Power is the dot product of force and velocity. Similarly, there will be some physical quantities which are obtained through cross product. Those physical quantities are pseudo vectors or axial vectors whose direction changes once the plane in which they define is going to change. Then those vectors are called pseudo vectors or axial vectors. Whatever the vector physical quantities that can be obtained through cross product, they are pseudo vectors or axial vectors whose direction will be given by right hand component. This is what you need to understand. That's the reason why as n bar perpendicular to plane of a bar and b bar, what you need to understand, a bar cross b bar will be perpendicular to a bar, and also a bar cross b bar will be perpendicular to b bar, because it is perpendicular to plane of a bar and b bar. So perpendicular to each a bar and b bar, so that the dot product will be 0 also. A bar cross b bar dot a bar is 0. A bar cross b bar dot b bar is 0, because they are perpendicular vectors. This is what you need to understand. Of course, you may expect eagerly what physical quantities can be obtained in physics on applying the cross product among the physical quantities. See, between force and displacement, if you apply the dot product, if you operate the dot product, you get work. That's the example for scalar product or dot product. Similarly, here the best example for cross product which is known, it is to you, torque. Don't get surprised, which you have learned a detailed analysis on the concept of torque. Torque is that which keeps the body in rotation. We do say a torque acting on the body. When there is a force acting on the body which is fixed about a point and causes rotatory motion, we call it as a torque. Fluid statics, I think it's a part 11 or 12 of fluid statics. There is a detailed explanation on torque once you revise it. When a force acting on a body about a fixed point, then we can find there is some rotation produced in the body, and it is caused because of torque. So earlier, while explaining fluid statics concept, I have explained a torque in this way. If here there is a rigid support, a string is fixed from a rigid support at one point, a string is fixed to a rigid support, and there is a small sphere whose mass is m suspended from a rigid support. About the fixed point O, a small mass m is suspended. Now here I am going to apply a force F on this mass. So we have called it as point of application, where the force is applied, which is on the sphere. We call it as a point of application. You have learned this. And the direction along which the force is acting on the body, we call it as a line of action of the force. And the distance of the point of application from the fixed point, we call it as R. Distance of point of application from the fixed point is R, and the line of action of a force here F, so that we define that this is F bar and this is R bar, position vector. R bar, the position of a point can be expressed in terms of a vector. Do you remember? With respect to origin, with respect to fixed point, any position can be expressed in terms of vector known as position vector. So this is R bar, which is away from fixed point. You learned position vector in the earlier classes of vectors itself. So this is F bar and this is R bar. Here it is angle between. Theta is angle between F bar and R bar. If you are keeping all these things aside, torque is the product of the force and the perpendicular distance between the line of action from the fixed point. Do you remember? You have to. If not, go through fluid statics notes. There is no doubt in that you have to go through it. If not, if you are unable to get back all these points, first revise fluid statics notes torque, then come back here. No doubt in that. So torque is the product of two terms. One is applied force, another one is perpendicular distance of line of action from the fixed point. This is the line of action, this is fixed point, this perpendicular distance, suppose x. Here, the distance of the point where you are applying force is r and its position vector r bar, and this is f bar. Angle between them is theta. When this is theta, this will be theta. When this is theta and this is r, this opposite side will be r sin theta, because sin theta is equal to opposite side x by hypotenuse r. So that r into sin theta is equal to x. So I can write here f into r sin theta. The product of the applied force and the perpendicular distance of line of action from the fixed point will give the torque, which you have learnt in fluid statics. So applied force here, perpendicular distance of line of action from the fixed point is x, fx. But x equal to r sin theta, where r is the distance of the point from the fixed point, distance of the point of application from the fixed point. In vector form, it is f bar and this is r bar. Ultimately, it is f r sin theta, which can be written as, here I am writing very important equation. Tau bar will be the cross product of r bar and f bar, which is tau is equal to r f sin theta, which syncs here with this formula. There, by the time of fluid statics, you are not aware of vector. That's why I have not introduced r bar cross f bar. But now you are aware of a torque, you are aware of vector. So I can introduce tau bar equal to r bar cross f bar. Sir, why r bar cross f bar? Why not f bar cross r bar? Yes, this is because to explain the direction of the torque. The direction of a torque is perpendicular to the plane of f bar and r bar, like this. When you are going to apply the force in this way, your sphere will move in this way. Am I right or not? If you apply force on the sphere fixed about a point, then your sphere moves in that way. That is the reason why my torque should be perpendicular to the plane of r bar and f bar. I am folding fingers from r bar to f bar. That's why it is r bar cross f bar. If I am folding like this may resemble my body moving like this, but my body moving like this. So to balance the directions, here tau bar introduced as r bar cross f bar, but not f bar cross r bar. Remember that. If you say tau equal to rf sin theta or f bar sin theta, there is no problem. But when you are saying vector from tau bar equal to, it must be r bar cross f bar. So the direction of the torque will be perpendicular to the plane of r bar and f bar. That's why torque is an axial vector. Torque is a pseudo vector. So what is the torque? Reverse fluid statics. Any force acting at a point, any force acting on a body which is fixed about a point, then you can find the rotation in the body. The body moves along curved track around a fixed point, rotatory motion. Such effect is measured as torque. The rotational effect is measured as a torque. The torque is the product of applied force and perpendicular distance of line of action from the fixed point. This is common concept. That we are writing in the form of vector product. So when you are learning the cross product or vector product, the first example in physics it is torque, which is the cross product of r bar and f bar. R bar is the position vector of the point where you are applying the force, which is the point of application. F bar is the force vector, applied force vector that you are applying on the mass. This is all about a torque, which is an example for cross product in physics. Torque is a pseudo vector or axial vector whose direction will be given by right hand rule, holding from r bar to f bar. That is rf sin theta, where theta is the angle between r bar and f bar. Hope you have got clarity on this. Yes. In today's class, I don't extend more. I will try to finish only the examples in physics related to cross product. So we are going to enter into the next example, which takes a little lengthy explanation. Meanwhile, once you note down. Yes. Now here we can discuss little more examples in physics for cross product or vector product. But just to understand, just to understand those two examples in physics, you need to learn a little more difference or comparison between translatory motion and rotatory motion. You have to understand the terms related to these two different types of motion, translatory motion and rotatory motion. What is the translatory motion? If a particle is moving or if a body is moving either along a straight path or curved path, then each and every particle in the body covers the same path, same distance. Then we call it as translatory motion, which is either rectilinear motion or curvilinear motion. For example, here there is a body is moving forward along the straight path, or your body is moving along a curved path. But in this situation, when the body has been displaced through some distance, then each and every particle in the body will travel through the same length of the path. Each and every particle in the body will travel through the same length of the path, and their paths are parallel, which is the translatory motion. Not only along the straight path, even along a curved path. If you have taken one particle, each and every particle will travel the same length of the path, and their paths are parallel. So your translatory motion can be either along the straight line or can be along a curved line. Of course, this is the rectilinear motion and this is curvilinear motion. Rotatory motion means here, when you are learning about rotatory motion, here a body moving along a curved track around a fixed point. It is moving along a curved track around a fixed point. Best example, just take the wing of a fan, which is moving along a curved track and around a fixed point. Then in such a situation, once look at this, just a minute. Particle or the body moving along a curved track and around a fixed point. Just example, it is the wing of a fan moving along a curved track around a fixed point. Then, if you are talking about different particles that are present in the body, yes, they also move along a curved track around the fixed point. Yes, certainly. But those particles do not cover the same length of the path. This particle covers less path, this particle covers more, this particle covers more. So, when a body moving along a curved track around a fixed point, then different particles in the body also will travel along the curved path around a fixed point. But the difference is the radius of the curved track is not same for all the particles. The radius of curved track is going to vary from one particle to another particle. That's why different particles will cover different distances. When the body is going to finish one complete round, different particles will cover different distances. The reason it is the radius of the curved track from one particle to another particle is different. That is rotatory motion. So, when a body moving along a curved track around a fixed point, then different particles in the body will move along the curved track but of different radii. So, different particles will cover different distances. That is rotatory motion. But if you concentrate only on the motion of a particular particle, any one of them, then it moves along a curved track around a fixed point whose radius is constant. When you are talking about a particular particle, not about a body, you are talking about a particular particle, then it moves along a curved track around a fixed point whose radius of curved track is fixed. Then it is circular motion. So circular motion is a part of rotatory motion. Next, if you are talking about a motion of a body, along curved track around a fixed point, it is rotatory. If you are talking about the motion of a particle along curved track around a fixed point, then it is circular motion. First of all, this is the basic thing about translatory motion and rotatory motion. Now let us discuss the variables of motion in this particular case. Yes, when a particle is moving in translatory motion either along the straight path or curved path, then the shortest distance from initial position to final position, we define it as displacement, which is a vector physical quantity. Of course, if this displacement occurs in t seconds, then displacement per unit time is called velocity. Even we do write in differentiation, even we have written instantaneous velocity vector is equal to ds by dt. Do you remember? Derivative of displacement with respect to time will give velocity. You have learned this. Slope of st graph, ds by dt will give instantaneous velocity. Means when the body moving in translatory motion, the change in position will be expressed as a displacement. Of course, you can term it as linear displacement. I repeat what it is. Linear displacement. In what interval of time? T seconds. Then displacement per unit time or rate of change in displacement with respect to time will give velocity. But here, whenever a particle is moving along a curved track around a fixed point, if your particle has gone through some distance and has moved from one position to another position, then the change in position of the particle will be expressed in terms of angle. Through what angle your particle has been turned. When your particle is in rotatory motion or when your body is in rotatory motion moving along a curved track around a fixed point, the change in the position of the particle can be expressed in terms of angle. Means whether your particle has been turned through 30 degrees, whether your particle has been turned through 60 degrees, like that the change in position of your particle will be expressed in terms of angle. That's the reason why here S is linear displacement and V is velocity. Of course, default it is linear velocity. Velocity, default linear velocity, don't forget. Similarly here, theta is representing the displacement in rotatory motion. Means change in position expressed in terms of angle. So it is angular displacement. Here displacement per unit time is called velocity. Similarly, angular displacement per unit time means total angular displacement by total time will give angular velocity, omega, linear velocity. Here it is angular velocity. Of course, in differentiation you can write this omega as d theta by dt. Rate of change in angular displacement with respect to time. Like V is equal to ds by dt, omega is equal to d theta by dt. Hope you got some clarity on this. In translatory motion, the change in position will be expressed in terms of displacement in a specific direction. Then displacement per unit time will give velocity, which is linear velocity. But when the particle moving along a curved track around a fixed point, the change in position of the particle can be expressed in terms of angle, whether it has a turn to 30 degrees or 90 degrees. So it is angular displacement. Now here angular displacement per unit time will be angular velocity. Like displacement per unit time is called linear velocity. Here angular displacement per unit time is called angular velocity. Similarly here instantaneous velocity ds by dt. So like that here instantaneous angular velocity is d theta by dt. This is what a little comparison between There are translatory motion and rotatory motion. Why I said little? Because there is a little more. But earlier to the hope you learned about the uniform motion. While learning kinematics, you learned about uniform motion. When a particle moving along a straight path with constant velocity, then we say it is in uniform motion. Similarly, here you can say your particle is in uniform circular motion, provided its angular velocity is constant. Try to understand this. So, when the velocity of the particle constant in translatory motion, it is uniform motion. But here, when the angular velocity omega remains constant, then it is uniform motion in this case. We discuss a little more things, comparison between translatory and rotatory. First, you note down this. So, what we are learning? Comparison between translatory motion and rotatory motion and the variables of motion. 5 points we discussed. First, definition, and then displacement, velocity, and angular displacement, angular velocity. Whatever I am going to explain in the next point, you have to continue down the line. You have to continue. Now I am going to erase it. Note down. Yes. So what you have learned here? If this is in translatory motion, here for displacement, here angular displacement. Here for velocity, here it is angular velocity. This is ds by dt and this is d theta by dt. Now let us talk about acceleration. When the particle is in translatory motion, if there is a change in velocity time to time, if there is a change in velocity, then we do say the particle can have acceleration, accelerated motion. If the particle is moving with constant velocity along a straight line with constant speed, then here acceleration equal to 0. This is uniform motion with acceleration 0. But here the velocity is going to change, then we do say here it is moving with acceleration where a not equal to 0. But in rotatory motion, listen carefully, in rotatory motion or in circular motion, if a particle moving with a constant speed along a curved track around a fixed point, if a particle is moving with constant speed, I am not telling with constant velocity, because the reason it is, here the direction is going to change continuously. When particle moving along a curved track, at this point direction of motion is along the tangential direction. At this point direction of motion is along the tangential direction. At this point direction of motion is along the tangential direction. So even though the speed of the particle remains constant, but the direction is going to change continuously. So I do say there it is moving with uniform speed along a circular track, but not with uniform velocity. Because the direction is going to change continuously even though speed remains constant. Such motion where it moves with constant speed along a circular track, then we do call it as uniform circular motion. Circular motion is a part of rotatory motion, that's why we are explaining that. Uniform circular motion. So what you need to understand, in uniform circular motion, the speed of the particle is constant, but velocity is not constant. That's why acceleration is not equal to 0. When velocity is constant, then only acceleration equal to 0. But here, the direction of velocity is going to change continuously, that's why acceleration is not equal to 0. Then you may get, sir, how the particle can have acceleration as the speed remains constant? Because the direction is going to change, so velocity changes. But this acceleration is nothing but radial acceleration, because whenever you are expecting a particle has to move along a curved track around a fixed point, at every point it should experience a force acting towards the center of the circle. which is called centripetal force. Like planets are moving around the sun in elliptical orbits, which are curved track, because there is a force of gravitation of the sun on the planet. Electrons are revolving around the positively charged nucleus, because the nucleus shows an electrostatic force of attraction over the electron. So, any particle moving along a curved track around a fixed point should experience a force towards the center of the circular track, which is called centripetal force. And the centripetal force formula is mv square by r. M for mass of the particle, v for speed of the particle, r for radius of the curved track. So centripetal force equation is mv square by r. Then acceleration is v square by r. ఇక్కడ మీ అందరికీ డౌట్ వస్తుంది, సార్ ట్రాన్స్లేటరీ మోషన్ యాక్సలరేషన్ ఏ, then in rotatory motion also acceleration a only? No, I am not explaining here acceleration along curved track. I am explaining here acceleration along the straight track, that is radial line. Acceleration along with the radius, which is a straight path. That's why translatory terms I have used. Force along with the straight path. That's why I have used F equal to mv square by r. Acceleration a equal to v square by r along with the radius. So we call radial acceleration, radial force or centripetal force. Shall I write here? Centripetal force. And the acceleration is centripetal acceleration, you can say, or radial acceleration. But everyone is waiting. So here acceleration is dv by dt, rate of change in velocity with respect to time. This is a linear acceleration. Then what about in rotatory motion? Yes, coming to the point. Here, angular acceleration, alpha equal to d omega by dt. As a linear acceleration dv by dt, angular acceleration alpha is equal to d omega by dt. Next, the factor that is responsible for a translatory motion is force. Force is responsible for a translatory motion, where F is equal to m into a for dv by dt, m into a, F equal to ma. Similarly, the factor that is responsible for rotatory motion is a tau. Tau is equal to, here m you know, m into a, m for mass. Mass is the measure of inertia, remember. Mass is the measure of inertia, the ability of a body or the property of a body to oppose the sudden change. Like inertia in translatory motion, there will be moment of inertia, which is I. Moment of inertia. Don't think about this much, which you are going to get in the coming classes. Like inertia, ability to oppose the sudden change in translatory motion. Similarly, ability to oppose the sudden change in rotatory motion is moment of inertia. This is m, that is I alpha. Because F is equal to ma, there tau is equal to I alpha. How force is responsible for translatory motion? Similarly, torque is responsible for rotatory motion. If you have understood all these terms, then I can give you just 2 examples for vector product. Just 2 examples. Once you have understood all these terms. Similarly, here in translatory motion, we do say linear momentum. You know, the product of mass and velocity is called linear momentum, which is p. Similarly, here it is angular momentum, which is L. Both are vectors, of course. Linear momentum P, angular momentum L. Momentum of particle in translatory motion, momentum of particle in rotatory motion. This is P, linear momentum. This is L, angular momentum. Now once you go through this, so we have compared the translatory motion and rotatory motion, and we have discussed about the variables of motion in both the cases. Now we go with a little more examples related to vector point. Right now. So let us conclude the examples of cross product in physics. One is torque. Tau bar equal to R bar cross F bar. Similarly, angular momentum L bar equal to, I told you momentum of a particle in rotating motion or circular motion, angular momentum L bar equal to R bar cross P bar. I think you don't have any doubt. R bar is the radial vector defined away from fixed point. Hope you don't have doubt because we have explained even in the case of torque, R bar is the radial vector away from fixed point, R bar. So L bar equal to R bar cross P bar. So then what is P bar? You may get doubt. Yes, R bar cross P bar means M into V bar. P bar means M into V bar. V bar is velocity direction. When the particle is moving along a curved track, at any point the direction of velocity vector is given by tangential direction. At any point. At this point, if you wish to know the direction of velocity vector which is along tangential direction. So M into V bar will give P bar, then R bar cross P bar will give angular momentum. Of course, you can write it as M constant scalar R bar cross V bar. But you can see this radial vector and the tangential line both are always perpendicular. I repeat, R bar is a radial vector which is always away from the fixed point. V bar is velocity vector given by tangential direction. Remember, in a circular track, in a curved track, radial line, tangential line will be always perpendicular. This radius will not be perpendicular to this tangent. This radius will be perpendicular to tangent at that point. Similarly, this radius will be perpendicular to tangent at this point. So R bar and V bar are always perpendicular. That's why here this is M into RV sine 90 degrees. Sine 90 degrees 1, so you can write MVR is the formula for angular momentum. M for mass of the particle, V for tangential velocity, R for radius. Then angular momentum L equal to MVR. That's one more interesting thing. In addition to that, here V bar equal to tangential velocity vector V bar equal to omega bar cross R bar. What is V bar omega bar? You know, when particle is moving along a curved track around a fixed point with a certain speed V, at any point, the direction of velocity is the tangential direction and perpendicular to the radial line which is the R bar. But here there is omega bar which is angular velocity vector. This direction of omega bar, the direction of omega bar will be given by right hand rule. You know, velocity vector direction is given by tangential line. At any point, velocity vector at any point will be given by tangential line. Radial vector is always away from the fixed point. Radial vector away from the center. Then what is omega bar? Angular velocity vector whose direction given by right hand rule, which is an axial vector or pseudo vector. You have learnt earlier. Sir, how to apply right hand rule? Very simple. You see, this particle is moving in anti-clockwise direction here. So take your right hand, curl the four fingers of your right hand in the direction of rotation of the particle. Then the thumb finger indicates the direction of angular velocity. Sir, my particle is rotating in clockwise. Yes, rotate like this. Then the direction of angular velocity will be into the plane. If the particle rotating anti-clockwise, then rotate the fingers, curl the fingers of your right hand. Thumb finger indicates the direction of angular velocity. So you know the direction of angular velocity will be given by right hand rule. So this omega bar plus R bar will give V bar. So the three examples in physics we do discuss more. Tau bar equal to R bar plus F bar, L bar equal to R bar cross P bar, and V bar equal to omega bar cross R bar. This is the relation between angular velocity vector and linear velocity vector. Of course, omega bar and r bar perpendicular, so that you can write V is equal to omega into r, because theta 90. Because omega bar and r bar will be perpendicular. R bar is in the plane, omega bar is perpendicular to the plane. So angle between them is 90, so V equal to omega r. This is all about little more examples in physics based on cross product of vector product. Hope you need little more time to go through all these things and to get little more perfection, because it's a little more mathematical analysis concept. So please try to spend some extra time compared to the earlier lessons. Then you will get a little more perfection, and moreover you should need a little more writing practice without reading orally enough. Not enough. So reading orally is not enough. You need to go for more and more writing practice of all this explanation and formula. Then you will get some clarity on the concepts of basic operations in vector algebra, like addition, subtraction, multiplication. And in the next class we will come back to you with a new point in vectors. Take care.